generation as well. Me and my dad have talked about our mutual love for soundtracks like Super Castlevania 4 and The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I mean, this whole argument is based on the low-effort assumption that if you like this type of music, you're just a smelly loser who can never relate to anybody in the real world. But what about social gatherings? What about car rides? Why is video game OST never played during these events? I think this says more about our declining culture than it does about the quality of video game music. Like, you're telling me that listening to an orchestral masterpiece from a game like Super Mario Galaxy is less relatable to the public than a song where a woman constantly talks about her private parts. I mean, even saying that out loud is just ridiculous.
A couple days ago, one of my YouTube friends, Wyvern on YT, made a video called Video Game Music is Real Music. Cry about it. Go check him out. He has a really great channel and some really great content. One huge disagreement that me and him have had is about video game music. And before anyone says anything, no, the disagreement is not that it is real music. I believe that video game music is real music, and obviously he does too. Where we disagree is how much video game music should be respected or valued. He believes, and his wish as stated in the video, is that video game music should be respected as much as any other form of music. I disagree. And that's a claim that's going to be really hard to defend, especially because I'm friends with Wyvern and I know that some people that watch me also watch him. Also, I have a generally younger audience since I am younger, and my YouTube channel is all about video games. But even with all of that, I still believe that video game music is not as valuable and is not worthy of the same respect as regular music. Now, that claim is sort of an oversimplification because there's a lot that goes in there. Earlier, you were hearing Wyvern talk about WAP, which is a song about a woman talking about her. And I would say that there's a lot better songs. But obviously, I don't have to let one bad song represent an entire form of music. And the same thing applies to video game music. I don't have to let one bad soundtrack ruin all of video game music for me. I think modern music is a little rough, but I still do think there are more value in certain songs than any video game soundtrack I have ever heard. So if you disagree, you can totally, completely annihilate me in the comments. Go for it. I'm completely ready. Another thing is, I don't care what type of music you listen to. You can listen to whatever you want. It is none of my business. I'm not making the argument that Wyvern or other people that like video game music should stop listening to it. I'm just simply making the argument that there's no reason for people like me to respect video game music as much as other music. So to start off, I'm gonna ask the question, what makes a good song? I think an emotional reaction of some sort does make a great song, whether it's sad or happy, as long as it's meaningful. Obviously, the quality of the song itself. I think the instruments used and the way they go together in a song also plays a part in making a song great. Oh, and another thing that can make a great song is storytelling. You can disagree with this, but I think most people will find that it is actually really hard to deny this. And this is where the problem comes in. For video game music, it can't have all of these elements. Video game music is made to be background music, so it wouldn't make sense to have all of those. But if you're going to be comparing it to regular music, then I'm going to point out the obvious. Video game music can't really tell a story. Like, if I'm listening to a video game soundtrack and I haven't played the game and I have no idea what the game's about, I have no idea what the hell the story is. Because in order for a video game soundtrack to tell a story, it has to work together with the game. Something that regular music can do is tell a story without you playing a game. Second point I have with video game music is that one thing I think really makes a great song is how they use the instruments. In video game music, sometimes they don't use any instruments at all. This can cause problems for a lot of video game soundtracks because a lot of them don't use real instruments. In Wyvern's video, he makes the argument that for games like Undertale, computers can still be instruments, because it is still music, and it's not contradicting the definition of music. And this is my argument. Music does not have to be made with instruments. The definition of instrument is a tool for making music. A computer is a tool that you can use to make music, but it is not made to make music, meaning that it is not an instrument. It can still make music, but it is inferior to actual instruments because it's not an instrument. And the amount of passion that people can put into instruments when playing a song can make it all the better. So even though games like Undertale make sense for it to have computer-generated music, that doesn't mean I have to respect it as much as Bob Marley. And the final other thing that video game soundtracks can lack is meaning. And when I say meaning, I mean really, really deep meaning that you can relate to. As much as I love The Legend of Zelda, I can't relate to the meaning in the main Legend of Zelda theme. Like, I know I like the game, But in terms of actual deep meaning, I mean, it sounds good. I've played the games before. What I'm getting at is that video game music isn't nearly as personal. For example, one of my favorite songs of all time is called Ghosts That We Knew, and it's by Mumford & Sons, which is one of my favorite bands of all time. The song is written from the perspective of someone left in the wake of a departed loved one, singing about being surrounded and haunted by the memories of that loved one. And despite this being really sad, the narrator sees that it's only right that those who have passed on should be able to fully move on, just as themselves should continue to strive forward despite not knowing what lies ahead. Holy crap! What video game soundtrack can tell that type of story? Never in the entire world, out of all the video games I have ever played, ever found a video game soundtrack that can tell that type of story. One other thing I really like about this song is that he says, "Just promise we'll be alright."
Just promise me we'll be alright.
And he repeats this in the song. And every single time he says it, it's in a sad way. And in the final part of the song, he repeats it one last time, and it's actually hopeful because he actually accepted what has to happen.
Just promise me we'll be alright.
What I'm getting at is that this is a level of meaning that video game music just can't reach. And that's really why I respect this type of music way more than I will ever respect video game music. And that's kind of just that. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are hooked on this respect thing that I keep talking about. But just to be clear, I don't not respect video game music. I do. Again, I just don't respect it as much as other music. And the argument I am making is that there is no reason for me to. I think regular music is better and more significant. The definition of respect is a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. I really want to focus on the last part of this respect definition. Their abilities, qualities, or achievements. As I've already shown, and again, you guys can totally rip me apart in the comment section, other music has more abilities and qualities. But what about achievements? If you look at it from a historical perspective, video game music is actually really similar to classical music. And I think that's really cool. Now, obviously, there is that problem of not using real instruments, but if I'm ignoring that, I still think that is pretty cool. The only problem is that my critiques on video game music cannot be applied to classical music because music throughout history has changed. Back then, I'm sure classical music was a lot bigger. But since in this video, I'm not talking about what was happening during the 1700s or 1800s, I find that although that comparison is cool, since music changes a lot, I still do think the critiques I have of video game music apply. So classical music and video game music, although similar, are two separate things. And video game music doesn't bring anything new to the table, and doesn't have the same amount of achievements that a lot of other music has or can have. Anyway, I'm going to end this video off by saying if you really like video game music and you like listening to it, that is cool. Please keep listening to it. Don't watch this video and then feel like you shouldn't listen to video game music. That's stupid. Listen to whatever music you like. Just don't let anyone make fun of you for it. Again, I've already said this, but I'm not arguing that people should change their music taste. I'm just arguing that other music is more significant to video game music because video game music hasn't brought anything new to the table. I cannot respect it as much as other music. And remember, the definition of respect is a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something. And I happen to believe that video game music's abilities, qualities, and achievements are far inferior to other music. So that's all this video is going to be. I know a lot of people are going to be really pissed off. That's fine. You can be mad at me. It's okay. I really just made this for fun, and I already knew going into it that I'm really playing with fire. Anyway, that's it. So, yeah.